afternoon to you. Hope your Wednesday is off to a great start. Thanks for joining Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. NFL draft just one day away from here in Cleveland, down on the lakefront. We will talk plenty of Browns draft. We'll also be joined by an area high school coach. The Browns High School Coach of the Year, Marty Gibbons, gets to make a pick in that draft. We'll talk to Marty about that. We will also have an update of the Indians trying to go for a sweep of the Minnesota Twins over at Progressive Field. Not going well for the Tribe. But we begin by talking draft. And when we talk draft, well, we always like to talk with Jeff Risdon. And one of the things we're going to talk about before we get to that draft is the Browns and Jimmy Haslam. The owners, D. Haslam, Jimmy Haslam, addressed the media. And one of the things they talked about, all the Super Bowl talk with the Browns.
Listen, everybody wants to get to the Super Bowl. That's the ultimate goal, and to win the Super Bowl. But I think we, as much as probably more than anybody, understand how competitive and hard the NFL is. And I'm not sure if anybody else has shared this, but Kevin's opening talk to the team, if you'll remember, after we lost that tough game to the Chiefs back on January 17th, everybody, Miles, Baker, et cetera, were saying we'll be back, and we all want to hear that. But Kevin flashed up either the last 2 or 3 years, I can't remember, 5 of the 10 teams that made the playoffs did not make it back. So half the teams that were in the playoffs the previous year didn't make it the next year. So I can assure you all understand how hard it is to win in the NFL. And I think I know our coaching staff and our support staff, and I believe our players will go in with that type of mindset, because it's a tough, we have a hard schedule this year. We have a tough schedule. We play in a tough division. So we've got to, as Kevin says, we've got to work hard to get to where we need to go.
Jimmy Haslam talking about the Browns and Super Bowl aspirations. Let's welcome in Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Jeff, when you hear Super Bowl talk, when you hear the owners say it, when you hear the coach warning against it, it's all good stuff.
It really is. And I like the fact that Jimmy there talked about how Kevin Stefanski's influence on the team sort of refocuses them and makes sure that they're not getting too high for their own, too big for their own britches, too high up, that they need to work. They got to keep going at it, that there is still work to be done. They are not where they need to be. And from the tone there that Mr. Haslam was speaking in, it's pretty clear that he believes that too, and that he's ready to make sure that he can do whatever he can do to help the team get to that point. He's ready to do it. And I'm very encouraged by that. It's a bit of a new look for Jimmy, quite honestly, being a little bit more restrained and controlled, and I think he wears it well.
Yeah, it's the type of thing you want to hear from an owner. Well, another thing everybody wants to talk about, Baker Mayfield. They picked up that 5th-year extension. The owners, Jimmy Haslam, D. Haslam, talked about extending Baker and making him the Browns quarterback for a long, long time.
I think we were all pleased to see the growth in Baker last year as a player and as a leader. I think we all understand how important quarterback is in the NFL, so we were delighted to see that. Baker deserves a 5th-year option, and I think he and Andrew have both addressed the possibility of things after that, and we'll leave that up to Andrew to decide when that happens. But we're well pleased with where Baker is, and I'll be honest, we're really excited to see what Kevin and I happened to walk down the steps with Alex Van Pelt, and to see what Kevin and AVP and Baker, and if you think about it, we have our entire offense back. We have our entire coaching staff back, except for one of our offensive quality control individuals who went to be a coach at Yale. So to have that type of continuity, which we strove to get here on offense, going into a second year with Kevin, and Baker, we're just really excited to see.
Again, Jimmy Haslam talking about what the Browns are going to do. Let's bring Jeff Risdon back in. Jeff, again, when was the last time you heard an owner, Jimmy Haslam in particular, talk about his coach and his GM and saying, we're going to let them do things?
It's refreshing, isn't it? It's a very, again, it's a nice new turn for Jimmy Haslam, who's not always been the most respected owner, is probably the best way to say it, amongst the fan base. The fact that he's letting his people do what they do best, and largely staying out of the way, but facilitating what they need to do, that's exactly the role that he needs to be in. I think he's comfortable in that. And he's right on with what he said. The continuity of everybody coming back, of Baker getting a second year in the same offensive system with the same receivers, with the protection in front of him. I can't imagine him not being better. And he was already pretty darn good. So it's a very exciting time for Baker. And as he alluded to, you can expect to see Baker in Cleveland longer than just the 2 years that are remaining on his contract. That's something that they'll get to. Who knows when they'll get to the extension, but it's clearly something that all sides there have a vested interest in making happen.
It also kind of leads you to believe that Jimmy Haslam, when he finally thought that he had it right, would get back out of the forefront and go into the background, which he did last year for the first time in his ownership.
He did, and he's learning from his mistakes. That's what you ask from people. You ask for that for your coaches. He was a rookie owner. He's grown out of that phase, thankfully. It was a little awkward at times, but we're getting to the point now where he's certainly earning his credibility with the fans. I think most fans have him pretty well in their good graces, and I get why. I understand that there will still be people that will just never be accepting of him after some of the decisions that were made early on, but he's clearly put it behind him, and it's a new and better Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam. I think Dee deserves a lot of credit for that too. I think she's always had her eye on the prize and sort of kept him reined in a little bit, and it seems like the two of them are working very well together with Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta and the management crew that's in place. They really seem like they're a well-oiled unit, and that's not something that we're used to saying about the Cleveland Browns, but thank goodness we are. Yeah,
on the same page finally. The book had a lot of pages in it, thousands, but they're on the same page now.
Yes, it did.
One of the things another good sign, Jeff, is let's take a look. Baker Mayfield working out in Florida with a number of the Browns players, Jarvis Landry among them, David Njoku among them, Hooper. So we're starting to see Baker Mayfield getting those workouts together out in Florida to get everybody back on the same page. These via Instagram. I had to go deep to find them. But Baker getting the workouts in, getting his offense on the same page, trying to add that second year. And again, all good stuff if you are a Browns fan and you want this offense to click.
It absolutely is. It's something that you want to see. You like having the players work out together. Remember, there was some consternation that they skipped the team offseason workouts. It's clear that those are it's a bit of an antiquated notion. Players stay in shape year-round a lot better than they used to. If you look at the pictures of Njoku there, he's certainly still very fit. I don't think there's much of a worry about him sloughing off in the offseason. And the fact that they're working out together shows that they're all striving for the same prize. As Mr. Haslam said, they want more. And I like the fact that they're going at it. It's a lot better than them working out together than it is working out separately and independently. And the fact that they've gotten it together, whether it was Baker that organized it or Jarvis, there's some question about who got it all together, but it doesn't really matter if they're all getting together and working and getting better together. That's exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, exactly. You start that movement toward where you want to go early enough. Hopefully you get there. Jeff Risdon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Jeff and I are going to talk a little bit about mock drafts. We will look at some interesting names that the national media has pegged to the Browns at 26. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue to talk NFL draft. Just a day away. Downtown Cleveland will be the site tomorrow as the first round will be held. The Browns hold the 26th pick as currently constructed, unless they trade up or back. And a number of mock drafts that are recent. So Bucky Brooks, NFL.com, NFL Network, has the Browns taking edge rusher Joe Tryon from Washington with the 26th pick. Let's bring back in Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Jeff, what do you think? Joe Tryon is a guy that has been in that late first, early second, mid second. What do you make of Tryon being a guy coming to the Browns?
A little bit earlier than he's generally projected, but it's not out of line that he would go at number 26. He's a player that has some very impressive game film at Washington. He did take 2020 off. Was somewhat inconsistent in 2019 playing at Washington. He has some reps where you're like, wow, man, I want that guy. And there's some other reps where it's like, I don't know about this. So if the coaching can reach him, if they can iron it out, put him in more position to succeed more often. He's certainly got the physical ability. He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that, like Myles Garrett, like David Njoku, he's the guy that you want coming off the bus first and intimidating the other team. He's a very physically impressive presence, and it translates to the football field often. It just needs to be a little bit more often. That's why there's a little bit of question about whether he's going to be a first rounder or a second rounder. But there's definitely some buzz around him and the Browns. Will it happen? Who knows? But he's certainly a candidate.
Well, it's kind of interesting. So Joe Tryon is a guy that, as Jeff mentioned, opted out. Now, what happened? He opted out. And when the Pac-12 decided they were going to play, he had already signed with an agent, so he couldn't repay the fees, so there was no way he could play. So Joe Tryon talked about that, and he said, he missed his season, but was working hard to get better. Let's listen to Joe Tryon.
I mean, obviously not playing is you get forgotten about, but at the end of the day, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm not worried about, what everyone else got to say. But, I know what I've done to separate myself, whether that's being in the film room all the time, studying a lot of tape as much as I can, because I didn't get the chance to play. But, just trying to separate myself in any way, whether that's, physically preparing myself like I did, leaving school early, preparing myself, to become a pro early. I feel like I gave myself a huge advantage. I'm excited to land on the team and get ready to go.
And that is Joe Tryon, and let's bring Jeff Risdon back in. Jeff, you certainly like to hear that from a young guy. Made it sound like, I opted out, but I was working at it.
Yeah, and there's no question that he's still been working at his game. And I think that's true for just about all the guys who opted out. They made a business decision. They know that their future life is in football, and they're pursuing it. There's obviously, without playing, you're not going to get better at the on-field stuff. But in terms of learning how to watch film better, learning how to train better, getting up to speed in terms of like nutrition and things like that. Those are things that you don't necessarily get at college that they can work on before it. So he didn't get the playing reps, and that is important. But the fact that he can do a lot of other things and clearly did and is proud of it, I think that sort of eases some of the concerns about a guy who opted out. Not just Tryon. There's a ton of opt-outs this year who are going to get drafted high. And how the league handles that's actually one of the big questions that a lot of us in the draft media have going into the draft is how is the NFL going to punish them for sitting out? And I kind of think there's just so many of them that they can't, but it would be interesting to see that storyline play out over the weekend.
So another one of the national mock drafts, this one was done last night, NFL Nation Reporters mock draft. So that's a guy in every city that's basically a beat reporter for ESPN picks. Now, the Browns selected Jalen Phillips, edge rusher from the University of Miami, Florida. Your reaction to that one, what do you think about Jalen Phillips at 26 to the Browns, Jeff?
I think it's crazy that he was still there, quite honestly. I think he might be the first defensive player taken off the board. It's tough to see him falling out of the top 15. So getting him at 26, the reason you would get him at 26 is because he does have some medical issues. This was a guy who started his career at UCLA, was forced to medically retire because he got 3 concussions within a year. And that's a very scary proposition. He also has some other injury issues. He's had wrist problems in the past as well. But in terms of physical ability, he is easily the most talented pass rusher in this draft. Again, you're just gambling on concussions, and that's a gray area. That's something that Andrew Berry will have to talk about with the team doctors and trainers and things like that to see if they're comfortable making that sort of decision with him. If he does fall, he's certainly the most talented player that they could get on the board at number 26. And that would be a home run. Again, if they're comfortable with the medical situation, and they might not be, and it's hard to blame anyone for not being with the concussions and all the hubbub that's been over that for the past few years. It puts him in a difficult situation, but it's certainly plausible that, my goodness, if he falls, that's a great pick.
Yeah, and the thing is there's no consensus at 26, so it's not like you're taking a risk at a top 10 pick. It's 26, so the risk reward is what Andrew Berry has to weigh. So Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk has the Browns taking a wide receiver, Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU. Now he has the Browns passing on Zaven Collins and Jamin Davis, linebackers, and taking Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU. Just reaction to that one, Jeff.
It would not be what I would do, but that doesn't mean that they will do it. I'm not a huge Terrace Marshall fan. He's an impressive big outside receiver. He's very good in the red zone. He played well at LSU without Joe Burrow. That's something to consider. They didn't necessarily have the passing attack that they did around him. There's just things to his game that I would like to see. He's a guy that sort of needs the kick in the butt to stay in line in terms of blocking assignments, running his routes with the same gusto when he's not going to get the ball as he does when he's going to get it. Those are pretty obvious holes to his game, but physically talented, he's there. Taking him over a linebacker, I'm not sure that the Browns are in the linebacker market as much as we have thought that they were. I think signing Anthony Walker solved a lot of those issues, especially if they're going to do what Joe Wood's dream is, to play the dime where they have 3 cornerbacks and 3 safeties on the field at the same time. They don't necessarily need a high-end linebacker. They might be looking more for a guy who can play special teams. So I get passing on the linebacker. Again, it's not necessarily what I would do. If Zaven Collins is looking at me there, especially now that he weighs 270 pounds, he can play edge. He can be that Olivier Vernon replacement long-term. I like that idea a lot. That's where I would go. But I'm not Andrew Berry. I'm not making that call.
Now, you did do a mock draft for draftwire.com, brownswire.com. Tell us who you took. Who did you have and kind of take us through the mindset? I know you went wide receiver. Who do you like and why'd you take him?
Yeah, I did. So this was a deal where all of the wire editors from all 32 teams, we made picks. And it wound up that I wound up with Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver from Minnesota, who I think is a very, very good pick at 26. I think he's one of the top 20 players in this draft. He is a player that can play outside, and I like the idea of him working out for a year. Now, this is a guy, he works out with Odell on the side already. They're friends. They have some commonalities. And the fact that he would get a chance to get his NFL feet wet with Jarvis and Odell for a year, and then step in when one or both of those guys may be gone in 2022, because the economics of having a good football team is that you're going to have to get rid of some good players at some point. It's one of the unfortunate consequences of winning, and paying your top 2 wide receivers $32 million. That's tough. So if you can get a guy in there that replaces one of them capably, and you can get him into the system, and he can learn, what your offense is and where his role is, that's a very appealing prospect for the long-term roster building. And that's exactly what Andrew Berry talked about the draft being. He's not plugging holes. He's looking long-term. That's his goal with the draft. And taking a guy like Bateman would certainly do that.
Jeff Risdon from brownswire.com, and I'm going to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Jeff will talk a little bit about the Browns' needs. We'll also take a look at some betting odds as to who the Browns will take at 26. It's basically done by the draft slot. So the 26th draft slot, And we'll also take a look at the first position off the board that is not a quarterback. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue to talk NFL draft. The first round gets underway downtown Cleveland tomorrow night. Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com joins us. And Jeff, when you look at the Browns draft needs, what are you looking at? What are you thinking?
You know, it's such an unknown this year. I think, and that's true for throughout the draft. This will be the year where people have mock drafts that are scrapped very early and often. So don't expect a great deal of accuracy from any of us in the draft media or any of us in the Cleveland media who are trying to figure out, because we're doing a lot of guessing this year, Dave. There's no doubt about it. But the draft odds that come out that are placed right around it, they sort of give you an idea of where the professionals think that the players are going to be coming off. And there were a couple of players that made, right around the 26 mark, assuming that the Browns are picking at 26. Guys like Azeez Ojulari from Georgia certainly makes some sense in that range. I believe Jamin Davis from Kentucky, the linebacker, is a guy that's right around that range. And there's a few players that fit right in there. So if you're looking for where the broader picture is of where the professional bookmakers think the Browns are going to go with the pick, the lines sort of take you there.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. So you mentioned that. So BetMGM draft odds for the 26th pick, and they have Ojulari over -125, under +100. So yeah, that's in reference to betting $100. So that gives you an idea.
Right.
Rashad Bateman, under or over is -150, under 120. Trevon Mooring, the safety from TCU, over -125, under +100, and Davis, who you mentioned, over -125, under +100. So those are the guys in that range. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Would it surprise you at all to see the Browns potentially drop back in the draft?
No, not at all. We've talked about this quite a bit. They have 9 draft picks this year. They don't necessarily have 9 roster openings. So if they want to punt some of those to next year, that certainly makes sense. And get into a year where there is actual, widespread college football, and there will be pro days and a combine and the ability for scouts to go in and watch college practices. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they dropped back out of the first round and didn't necessarily get something back this year in return for it. Nothing more than like a 3rd or a 4th round pick to stockpile next year when college football will have a lot more clarity to it entering the draft. that's certainly an option that has to be considered. And those players, their lines are tied to the number, not necessarily the team. So that's where the projected range for where guys like Moehrig, who would look great in Cleveland, they don't necessarily need him. It's sort of redundant with Grant Delpit, but a player like that would certainly make a lot of sense in Cleveland too. I don't think that they're looking his way, even though he has been a frequent mock draft subject, and I'm guilty of that too. I put him in a few, but yeah, he's that's the range where players are going. You know, so if you have a really strong inkling on it, it's a way for you to make some money off the draft this weekend too.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. So the other odds that we'll look at, and again, this is by BetMGM Draft Odds, position for the first player of the Browns draft. Now, the favorite on this one is linebacker at plus 225. So again, you bet $100, you get 225 back. Now, the interesting one, defensive lineman is plus 260. Cornerback is plus 325. Wide receiver is plus 400. And you go down, offensive line is plus 800. Safety is plus 2,000. So, you know, again, those are, and again, these are the odds. Those are, they make a lot of money by being right at this stuff.
That's exactly right. They're trying to sucker you in to get your money. Don't ever forget that. Doesn't mean that you can't make some money off of them too. The weird one, they actually do print odds for kicker, believe it or not. I thought that anyone would take a first-round kicker, but I believe that's 50,000 to 1, which would be, if you got some real strong information on replacing Cody Parkey, maybe that's the way to invest. But yeah, it's fun to do that. And for those of, I actually spent one draft in Las Vegas and was doing this on the side with people, and it's a nice little way to make some money.
Just a gut feeling. Where do you think the Browns are going at 26? Just an overall gut feeling.
I like the idea of Greg Newsome as the cornerback from Northwestern. If he's not there, I've heard a lot of buzz about Georgia cornerback Eric Stokes in the last couple of days, coming from both Cleveland and from other places. So I wonder if there's something to that. That would be just a guess of those two. Again, if Jalen Phillips is there, he's certainly got to get consideration. I'm cooler on wide receiver other than Bateman. I do think that he would make a lot of sense. I think that's sort of the pool where you're looking at right there. And I don't think defensive linemen's in the cards. Edge, other than Phillips, all those other guys, you know, guys like Ojulari, Jason Owe, they all have enough questions about them that I could see the Browns passing or trading back maybe and then taking them a little bit later.
All right, Jeff Risdon and I from BrownsWire.com going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll talk about the risk associated with a couple of the injured players in this draft, and there are a couple of them that are intriguing. And Jeff and I are going to go through a mock draft where we try to trade up. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports for CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns and Browns draft with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Now, Jeff, there are bad months, and then there are months that Caleb Farley has had. That's the young guy, one of the really good cover corners who had a back injury before, in a month leading into this whole draft. Now he has COVID. So, and that was announced by his agent. None of the symptoms, but he did test positive for COVID. So that's the definition of a rough month. You're getting ready for the NFL draft, back surgery, COVID. Is this a guy that you're intrigued by enough with the talent and the upside that you take him at 26?
So I would not. I understand why people would be intrigued by them. When he's been on the field for Virginia Tech, he's been a phenomenal coverage corner. He's as good as the two top guys, Jace Horn from South Carolina and Patrick Surtain Jr. from Alabama. He's had 2 back surgeries. He's not even 21 years old yet. He had one of those after not playing for a season. So we're of the age, Dave, where we know that the backs don't get better with time. So I'm fairly certain that his isn't going to get a lot better. It's discouraging. I feel bad for him that he was one of the players who was supposed to be in Cleveland for the draft. And unfortunately, his COVID positive prevents that, which is very disappointing for him, because it really is an experience for these guys to go up and cross the stage, even if they're there longer than they thought they would be. It's still the shining moment of a lifetime. It really is a culmination of all years and years and years of hard work. So it's disappointing from a personal level for him to not get that. But yeah, if I were the Browns, I would pass on him. Even though there is a whole lot of talent there, he's just back surgeries. That's a tough one to mess with, man.
Yeah, I absolutely. And as you said, if at 21 playing football, it's not going to get a whole lot better. Now here's another one.
Nobody ever used to have back problems.
Yeah, exactly. Once you have them, you have them. Now, we talked a little bit about Jalen Phillips. If he's there at 26, do you take him? What are your thoughts with Phillips?
Boy, again, concussions, that's a dicey one. That's even worse than the back, because you can get a concussion. I suffered 2 of them playing volleyball. So you can get them from anywhere. It's not just being on the football field. I don't know. He's really, really good. And he is the best at his position. And my goodness, putting him across from Myles Garrett or playing him with, in place of Myles Garrett and moving guys around, there's so many different options that he would present. He's very intriguing to me. I would, as long as my doctors and I had access to the medicals and all that, if the doctors signed off, sign me up for that one.
All right, note to self, do not play volleyball with Jeff Risdon if people are getting concussions. All right, the other one we're going to talk about, Landon Dickerson, offensive lineman from Alabama.
Really, really talented player, would be the best interior offensive line prospect in this draft, but he's had 4 season-ending injuries in 5 years. One of them, he tore his ACL this year. He actually went out and snapped after that just to get in. And he was participating in Mac Jones' pro day as well, which speaks to the level of love of football he's got. But there's only so many surgeries you can have and still have knees, and he's pushing that threshold, quite honestly. It's frustrating because, again, very talented guy, but this is a guy who, if he had a clean bill of health, would be a first-round pick, no doubt. But now I'm not even sure that he's a day 2 pick with all the injury issues. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And the Browns are in the market for another guy to challenge, to be Nick Harris from last year was fine. I think they'd like to have somebody else in there in that mix to eventually succeed for J.C. Treader and or Joel Bitonio as those guys get older and work their way off the roster in 2 or 3, 4 years, perhaps sooner with Treader. But they need somebody there. I can't see them taking him though with Dickerson with all the knee injuries like that. Durability has to matter there.
Yeah, and the other thing is you can never have enough offensive linemen. Okay, so Jeff, you do mock drafts. Are you ready for this one? We are going to do a simulated mock draft live. So we're going to try to trade up to number 14 with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to give the Vikings 26 and 91. So the Browns' first-round pick and the second of the 3 of the third-round picks. Now, they have accepted the trade. So my hope is we can trade up and grab J.C. Horn, and I've gone in front of the Cardinals to try to do it. So let's start the draft, and see who we have available to us and who we want to do. So let's take a look.
All right.
You got Barrymore, you got Jones, you got, and we have J.C. Horn. So
all right, it worked.
We have
good.
Horn and we have Bateman. Do you go with Horn? Or are you with me? I think he's a lockdown corner. Are you buying? Trade?
I'm with you, Dave. Take Horn. That's a home run pick there. If you're moving up, you have a specific player in mind. That's the kind of guy that you trade up to get.
All right, now we're going through, and here is who we can take with our second pick. All right, you got Davis, who seems to always be there. Molden, who's cover like a slot guy. Who you like looking at these picks here?
You know, Jamin Davis makes some sense. Pro Football Focus is just not a fan of his, so he winds up being there longer than he should be in a lot of drafts. I'm looking right there. Jamar Johnson, the safety from Indiana, is a very interesting one. He's a guy that can play any of the safety roles in the defense. And when you're looking to build depth, when you sort of have, you know, where the Browns are at with Grant Delpit coming back and with John Johnson coming in, those guys have some versatility. He's a guy who would look really good. So I would kind of lean there.
What do you think about Peyton Turner? So Peyton Turner's still on the board, edge rusher.
See, I see him at the bottom there. He's definitely intriguing. He's a guy, he can really bring it off the edge, and very talented guy. He can kick inside a little bit. He plays with the kind of attitude that Cleveland fans would embrace.
Let's go ahead and take Peyton Turner because we need
like it. I like it.
All right,
he's good.
All right, here we go. And now we'll see who is available to us. And remember, we only have one third-round pick because we traded it to move up. And as is always the case, Davis is still there. Every time I do this, Davis is available in the third round. So are you taking the linebacker or do you like Johnson? Johnson's usually there as well.
I do like him. Johnson's good. To tell you what, Kendrick Green, the offensive lineman from Illinois, is a fantastic scheme fit. He's a guy, he reminds me some of Wyatt Teller. And you can never have too much of that. So,
I defer to you. Who do you want with our third-round pick?
I'm going to take Jamin Davis just because he needs to come off the board. He's too good to be there.
All right. And again, every time I do this, Davis is available in the third round, which is utterly amazing. They grade our trade at a C, but they like our pick of Horn, and we get a B+. So that is a Pro Football Focus simulated draft. If the Browns come away with Horn, Turner, and Davis, man, I think they run back to Berea.
Yes, absolutely. And you can buy, Mr. Haslam will be happy to print those Super Bowl tickets for you, and you might want to invest in buying some because that's a haul that can get you there.
All right. Jeff Risdon, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. We will be checking in with Jeff again as well later this week as we wrap up the first round of the draft. So Jeff will be back on with us on Friday as well. So, Jeff, great stuff as always. Jeff Risdon, BrownsWire.com. Make sure you read them. Great stuff on DraftWire.com as well. Jeff, as always, appreciate the time and the insight.
My pleasure, and it's great to be back in Cleveland. And I'm looking forward to going down and taking the media pass off and being a fan for a little bit this week too.
All right. And again, you'll be back with us Friday. We'll recap the first round, look ahead to the second round. All right. Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Make sure you read them. Really good stuff as well. We have a voicemail to check out as well. Voicemail of Truth and Reason. And this one, thinking down the line, he wants to keep this coaching staff intact, and I agree wholeheartedly. Listen to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Let's say the Browns are successful this season, we get in the Super Bowl, whatever. One of the prices of success is that all of a sudden, lots of teams are interested in your assistant coaches. How many Patriots assistant coaches have we gotten, after their Super Bowl wins? So my thing, I wish someone would bring this up with Andrew Berry, is there a way to lock up our assistant coaches if they want to? I would ask them, hey, you want to be, with the Browns for 10 years and win lots of Super Bowls? We will give, and my idea to lock them up to prevent erosion in the assistant coaches ranks is to offer a bonus. Say people who don't want to go up, just want to stay, in their position and thrive. would be to say to them, hey, if you can, if you're here for 10 years, we'll give you a $5 million bonus. And if you're not, then no bonus. But I don't think that's illegal. I don't think anyone's ever done that, but that would be a great way to, to prevent erosion in the assistant coaches' ranks, because continuity is so important.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue to talk NFL draft. It is going to be here in Cleveland this year. And time to welcome in Marty Gibbons, head coach of the Lake Catholic Cougars. Marty, appreciate the time. You get to be directly involved in the NFL draft. You're the Cleveland Browns high school coach of the year. And as such, you get to make the second pick. How exciting is that? How cool is that for you?
It's tremendous. Thanks for having me on, Dave. What a cool experience it is for, I think, the whole community, people around. And, for me, I'm just going to definitely enjoy the moment. I know a lot of Clevelanders would love to have the opportunity to do this. So I'll definitely, understand this is a great privilege and really enjoy the time spent up there.
How interested are you in the draft? What did you used to do with the draft, and how much attention do you pay? I know you're a huge football fan. I know you're a Browns fan. How much attention did you used to pay to the draft?
Oh, a ton of attention. I think back to when I was a kid, and I used to hang around my dad and other people that would watch the draft, and I would always, create my own mock draft back when I was, like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. And, I've always been really interested in the NFL and the game of football in general. So I think it's one of the most fun processes. Obviously, as Browns fans, especially like my generation growing up, the draft has been such a big part of everything. But now it is fun because we get to experience, obviously, a very good winning product now in Cleveland, which is a lot of fun as well.
And we're taking a look at a couple years ago, some of your practice when we were out there as well. And you can really tell how much you enjoy coaching high school football. I know it's a family type thing, but you just seem to enjoy it. You've really found your calling there at Lake Catholic.
Sure. Just a product of being in a good environment. The people around here have been tremendous to myself, my family, and there's such good kids around here. So I guess I wouldn't be doing anything else besides running around and having fun. I feel like a kid with it. So, obviously I would love to treat this week exactly like that as well.
Now, we touched on the draft. What was your reaction when you found out you get to make the second pick, the Browns' second-round pick in the draft? You get to announce it.
Well, a few weeks ago, I knew I was going to be able to attend the draft. But then last week, I was contacted by the league office, and they let me know that I would be actually announcing the Browns' second-round pick. And like a second round pick's a pretty big deal. You're going to get a great player at that level. So for me, it was at first like kind of shocked, but definitely excited. I think people around are fired up, and it's a really cool thing. And I'm most importantly happy for the people around me that get to kind of live through it and enjoy the experience as well.
I mentioned earlier you are the Cleveland Browns High School Coach of the Year from a season ago. How much does that mean to you, the honor? And I know there's some things that help the program out that go around with that, and that's a tip of the cap to the Browns for doing that for high school football in this area.
I couldn't have been more impressed with the Browns and their youth outreach program, Darryl Taylor, and just how first class they were in the whole thing. And it's so special to be a part of. They came out and they got the kids involved. When they let me know that I was being announced the Coach of the Year. And that's all I could really ask for at the end of the day. Obviously, the contribution to our program is significant, but, the memory that those kids are going to have from having, chomps out at Lake Catholic in our media center and them getting excited for all of this was really what made this all whole for me. And now they get to continue to see it. They like seeing me on TV. They're teasing me about it and all that stuff. So the fun continues, I guess.
Marty Gibbons, appreciate the time, and best of luck to you and the Lake Catholic Cougars. Have to come out to another practice once we get past COVID, but Marty, appreciate the time. Thanks very much, and best of luck to the Cougars. Have a great time at that NFL draft. That is such a cool thing. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, Dave, and you're always welcome back out here in Cougar Country. Thanks again. Have a great day.
All right, Marty Gibbons, head coach of the Lake Catholic Cougars, runner-up in the state in Division IV a season ago. He was the Cleveland Browns High School Coach of the Year, gets to make the second round pick announcement for the Cleveland Browns here in Cleveland on Friday. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will hear from Terry Francona as the Tribe had a rough one over at Progressive Field. The Twins a winner. We'll hear from Terry Francona. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us, everyone.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. Indians, we're going for the 3-game series sweep and trying to extend their winning streak to 5, and did not go well as the Twins scored 6 runs in the first 2 innings and had 3 home runs in the first inning, and they beat the Tribe 10-2. Minnesota 6 home runs on the year. Logan Allen struggled. An inning and a third, gave up 6 runs. So it snapped a 4-game winning streak for the Indians. Indians now 11-12 on the year, 3.5 games behind the Royals in the Central Division. Terry Francona talked about what went wrong for Logan Allen.
Starts with fastball location. I think the first ball of the game, I think, surprised him that it blew out. And we've all seen this ballpark when it warms up, the ball starts carrying. He's besides the fact he's a great hitter. and then, you know, he mislocated. They did with it what they can. They can be difficult for left-hand pitchers. And we saw they have some guys, you know, like Garver, guys that you better throw where you're supposed to or they can really hurt you. Once you set out to win the game, when you doesn't look like you're going to do that, you just try to think, okay, what's next best? And getting him a little bit stretched out was good for him. Getting Wicker in a game was good for him, and getting Mayton in a game, and then also Nelson at the end.
Terry Francona talking about the struggles of the Indians' starting pitcher Logan Allen. ERA over 9 now as he gave up 6 runs in an inning and a third. You saw Brian Buxton 5 for 5, and the Twins hit 6 home runs. So the Indians have tomorrow off. Then they head out on the road. They'll be in Chicago. Friday, they will open up a series against the White Sox. Shane Bieber and Dallas Keuchel will be the pitching matchup, and Indians now a game and a half behind the White Sox, who are in second place in the Central, 3.5 behind the Royals, who are in first place in the American League Central. Tomorrow it will be NFL Draft first round. We will have a preview. We'll hear from some of the prospects. Scheduled guests include Mac Robinson as well as Tim Bielik, draft expert for cleveland.com. Want to remind you, you can also leave us a voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Who do you want the Browns to take with that 26th overall pick in the first round? That's the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. You can also email us at sports4CLE@gmail.com, sports4CLE@cle.com. All out of time on this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you again tomorrow, 4 o'clock. It is NFL Draft first round. We will have a preview. Again, it will be Mac Robinson, Tim Bielik. We'll see you again tomorrow at 4 right here on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.